And welcome to That VidBlaster Guy. I'm Tom Sinclair, your host for the show, and That VidBlaster Guy. Glad to have you on with us today. For those of you watching live, glad to have you. Hope you're joining in the chat room. Can get a little rowdy in there sometimes, so everybody play nice today. And if you're watching us on YouTube after the fact, we'd love to have you come join us live. And if you happen to catch the first part of the show and miss the last part of the show, you can catch it in YouTube. We'll be uploading it later on. The basic premise of That VidBlaster Guy, the show, is that one guy with one PC and some hard work behind the scenes can do one awesome broadcast. You got to have good material. You got to be interesting. You've got to speak and enunciate well. But you can do it with one PC and the right software. And my heart's belief is that VidBlaster is the right software. And for the last 6 months, we've dedicated this show to proving that concept. And I think the show gets better and better. And in many parts, thanks to those of you that are viewers that have sent in your feedback, have straightened us out and saying, you can't do it that way. That's the wrong way to do it. I take criticism pretty well. I got pretty thick skin, and I want to learn as much as I can. And I know that our corporate wisdom is greater than the wisdom of any single one of us. So keep sending those cards and notes of encouragement. Those are nice. And critique. Those are nice too. Each week on That VidBlaster Guy, we generally have a guest from one of 3 different categories: sports broadcasting, internet broadcasting, TV talk show, kind of like this format, and church broadcasting. Today's guest and I got our wires crossed. I thought he was today. He thought he was next week. Marcus Mason is a guest, and Marcus is doing some really cool things in church broadcasting. I was really excited when he said he would come on the show, and I guess, I said one date, and maybe I said the wrong date. It's probably my fault. Anyway, Marcus is on the road doing some ministry work this week. Can't be with us, but he will be with us next Tuesday at 3 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock London. Somebody asked me the other day, said, why do you put London time on there? It was probably one of my Carolina buddies. And I said, because, this is a great after-dinner show for folks that live in England or in Western Europe. It's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock over there, and it's a great time to tune in and catch That VidBlaster Guy. So why not? So we have a mixed bag, folks watching us live here in the States, and then folks watching us live overseas, and then folks watching us all over the world in YouTube. Last time I checked last week's video, you remember that great video that we had last week with Joe Kelly Jr. and Diecast X, where he had the microscope camera and we were looking at the fine points of all these little cars. It was amazing. That show on YouTube has been viewed in 23 different countries. So it's amazing to me. I was telling my mother about that the other day, and she said, you're an international celebrity. I said, well, hold on a second. No. International, perhaps. Celebrity, no, not at all. Today's show, so we're going to try to catch up on some of the tips and tricks that we've been talking about on and along. And for those of you in the chat room, if you've got questions that you would like to pose, we'll be addressing those too. One of the questions that I get all the time is, the question starts out this: how do I upgrade? And they can mean generally one of 2 different things. They can either mean, how do I take my version 2.09 of VidBlaster and get the latest, greatest release version 2.27? Well, that's a good question. And if you don't know the answer to that question, you need to know the answer to that question. Excuse me. Not just for now, but for next time too, because new betas are coming out all the time. And they really have some good features in them, features that that obviously they're put out on beta, so they're not necessarily ready for prime time. But, you know, I like to gamble, and I want to try the new features and see how they do. 2.27 is the latest release version. So if you buy VidBlaster from vidblaster.com, you would buy the latest release version, 2.27. But 2.33 is the latest beta version. You can get that by going to the VidBlaster forum, and that's at forum.vidblaster.com, and then navigate to the downloads section of that forum, and then you'll see all the different betas and release versions there. And somewhere in those is a little link that says the word here, and it's a hot link to downloading that particular one. So if you've got 2.09, the previous release version, and want to upgrade to 2.27, it's a free upgrade. You can do that. This is how you do it. Go to forum.vidblaster.com, navigate to the download section, navigate to version 2.27, and then download and install. Always when you're installing a new edition of VidBlaster, a new version of VidBlaster, go ahead and make a copy of the subdirectory that contains your profiles, or save your profiles to a different subdirectory. So, you know, in case there's a bug somehow in the new version, it doesn't overwrite all your profiles and you lose your profiles. Wouldn't want that to happen. The other kind of upgrade is where you have one edition of VidBlaster, like Home, shall we say, and you want to upgrade that to the Pro version. The Home version is limited to 7 modules, which is great for a home streamer, you know. But if you want to do more, suddenly you say, oh, really, I need 9 modules. I need 10 modules. What am I going to do? Well, you can upgrade to the Pro version, the Pro Edition, which has 15 modules. And if 15 becomes not enough, you can upgrade to Studio, which has 25 modules. And if that's not enough, you can upgrade to Broadcast, which has 50 modules. Last week's show, I ran a profile that used 42 modules. You say, how in the world can you use 42 modules? Well, you should have been looking over my shoulder. It was pretty hairy and scary, but it worked. It was okay. It was a pretty good show. Probably 6 or 8 of those modules were just to show the chroma key and this virtual studio setup that I've been working on with Dr. Charles Campbell. Let's see, where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. You can always upgrade your version, your edition, from Home to Pro or from Home to Studio, and all you have to do is pay the difference in price. You get full credit for the edition that you already have, and that upgrade has to happen manually. So if you're interested in that, contact me, tom@vidblasterguy.com, and we'll talk about how to do it. It generally takes about 48 hours. Now, if you're just buying VidBlaster for the first time, and you want to go to our store, that vidblasterguy.com, and buy a license for it, you can get it same day. That generally happens pretty quickly. Anyway, that be the story on that. Upgrades is a question that people ask all the time. Oh, the last part of upgrades is if I have a version 1 edition of VidBlaster and I want to update to version 2, how do I do that? Well, there are 2 different ways to do that. One is you can simply pay the update fee. Let's say you've got the Home Edition and you want to keep the Home Edition. You can pay the update fee, which is about 50%. So whatever 50% of $195 US is, and you can update your version 1 Home Edition to version 2 Home Edition. If you want to kind of do an upgrade and go from Home to Pro, well then you just update to the Pro and it automatically updates you to the version 2. So that's a pretty cool way to do it. You kind of get more bang for your buck right there. You get an update and an upgrade in the same bit. If you have questions about that, shoot them to me, tom@vidblasterguy.com, or leave a comment on YouTube. I answer comments there, and we can get that straight and get you on the right track with that. Let's see. One of the questions that I had earlier in the chat room is, can you record 2 recordings in VidBlaster at the same time? And the answer is, well, yes, you can. I don't know why you would want to, but you can. The VidBlaster has 2 recording modules, has the old recorder, which is what I'm using right now to record this show, and the MPEG recorder. Now, the MPEG recorder is currently being rewritten in the new version coming out of VidBlaster. I know version, which is not available to me or you yet, version 2.35, I think, has the new MPEG recorder in it. And some of the folks that are part of the private beta for that have been testing it out and have had rave results, rave reviews about how good that recorder is. So I can't wait to see it. But other strategies for recording, if you're streaming, you can use a content delivery network like, say, Bamboozer, and Bamboozer automatically records all their streams. You can use Ustream and tell Ustream to record it, so you've got a backup recording there. If you're using Flash Media Live Encoder as a separate, running separately from the built-in Flash Media Live Encoder that VidBlaster can kind of run behind the scenes in the command line format, you can tell Flash Media Live Encoder to record in several different file formats. So there are lots of options for recording it both locally at your PC and then remotely at the CDN level. I wouldn't recommend recording it at the CDN level and then downloading it and then uploading it somewhere else to view. I don't think the quality is going to be there. What we do on this show is I'm recording 864 by 480. It's not high resolution, but the Logitech C920 webcam does a really good job. So we were recording at 864 by 480. After the show, I'll save that recording and upload it to YouTube. And it'll be a gig to a gig and a half is a file size. It's a WMV file, and it will take 25 minutes, depending on how many other neighbors are using the MediaCom cable, and then Ustream will take about 20 minutes processing it. So generally within about an hour, it's uploaded and ready to view, and I think it comes across pretty well. The stream that I'm streaming today is actually streamed at 2 different resolutions simultaneously. One is the 864 by 480, and the other is a much lower resolution, so that if somebody wanted to watch us on their phone, they could do that. And hat tip to Andrew in Australia. If he's watching us on the train on his way to work, it would be Wednesday in Australia right now. So that's some of the possibilities of recording and reason for recording. And if you want to record for backup, indeed, I've got one show. This is probably show number 25 or 26, and I have not lost a show. I have last week's show. If you watched it on YouTube, for some reason I lost about the first 2 minutes of the show. That's a curiosity I haven't been able to figure out. And if you have a problem and you go to save a show and you don't think it saves, you can actually go into the file folders that VidBlaster uses and find the video before you exit VidBlaster and save it as a different name through Windows Explorer. And you will be able to save that file that way. It's not a documented feature, but it does work. So that's backup. And another question that I've had recently that was really a great question is, why doesn't my video look good? And boy, is that an open-ended question. In order to answer that question, you have to take kind of the Mike Phillips theory of analysis, and you have to start at the source and go all the way through to the end result. And if we're talking about video, the source is going to be the camera. And I'm amazed that a lot of folks that are using cameras really don't understand how the cameras work, don't understand how to set them up, and therefore they end up with video that is coming in interlaced or has got the wrong aspect ratio or the white balance is off, or different kinds of things. So the first place to start, if you're looking for improving your video quality, is check the owner's manual for the cameras that you're using and make sure your cameras are configured correctly. Now, you can move a camera from point A to point B, and a camera that was configured correctly here may not be configured correctly here because the white balance has changed. You've moved from an indoor environment to an outdoor environment, or you've moved from one type of lighting in one gymnasium to another type of lighting in a different auditorium. So you want to be really familiar with your cams as much as you can. I find it helpful in a multi-camera situation to have all the cameras be the same kind. That way I'm intimately acquainted with all of them. If there's a problem, I'm going to go, if I've got uneven color for some reason, I'm going to go check all 3 cams that I'm using and make sure that they've got all the same settings. Or if they're positioned in different places in the stadium or different places in the gymnasium, that they're set for the appropriate white balance for those areas. Somebody was commenting the other day they had a new camera, and it looked a little greener than the old one. And I think what they end up finding was it was a white balance problem. The second step in that trace is the cable. How are you connecting to your PC? What's the condition of that cable? And I know it sounds simple, but if you've got a cut or a nick in that cable, that can affect your quality. In some cases, depending on what kind of video you're sending, I understand, never experienced it, but I understand if it passes too close to a power cord, that can affect the quality. Now, I'm one for trying just about everything. I have had, video cameras hooked up on goalposts in end zones and run 500 feet of El Cheapo coax cable from my PC all the way around to the end zone to pick up that camera. And I got what I thought was a pretty decent image. I mean, it was a standard definition camera, so there wasn't a lot of detail like that coming through. And the camera kept getting hit by soccer balls, which probably was not good for it either. But I was able to get pretty decent quality video over a long distance. But if there's a problem with the cabling, that can be an issue. I had a friend call me last week who was having some problems. And they had a PC with an Osprey 450E card in it, and they had a big old 3-chip Panasonic camera, an old standard definition camera. And once they loaded, I think when they got up to 3 cameras, everything just ground to a halt. And what we found out is that the cameras and the Osprey card were not playing well together. The Osprey card was expecting to receive one kind of video from the cam, and the cam was sending it something different. Still in the middle of unpacking all of that, and my solution was simply to ship my friend a couple of my cameras that I knew would work while we figured out his, because he was under the gun and had a show starting today or tonight maybe. So we didn't fix the problem, we just removed some of the symptoms. But sometimes there can be an incompatibility between the cameras and the capture cards. That was the point of the story. The Osprey card, I think it's a great little card. I think it's bulletproof. I think it might be a little on the high end price-wise. The 450 is the old one. The 460 is the newer one. And there probably are cheaper cards, but I know that those work, and I know they work every time. And reliability means a lot to me when it comes to taking a setup out in the field and having to have it work the first time out there. I can try some things in my studio and maybe get around with it, but when I have to go out in the field, I want things that work every time, first time, every time. Once the video gets into the capture card, then it's going to come into VidBlaster. And VidBlaster sometimes, especially new users, can become a little confused by how to set the resolution settings. So I'm going to set up a quick screen capture here, and let me take a sec and set this up. I hadn't planned on doing this, but I think we're going to do it just because it's a good idea to do. So give me a sec here. And what I'm going to show you is part of my current setup. And right up here in the top left-hand corner is the video menu. And we're going to drop down that menu And one of the choices here is resolution. And you can see that I'm set for 864 by 480. That's the standard definition NTSC wide version. But when VidBlaster comes to you as a trial version, or as the first time you've ever installed it, the release version, it's going to come 320 by 240, which is half SD NTSC. And I see a lot of complaints from folks that are trying to use VidBlaster and don't think the quality is very good, and the problem is they haven't set that sort of universal or overall resolution at a good high resolution that matches their cameras. So that would be a great way, if you're having trouble resolution, is to check what is your resolution. Same thing for frame rate. VidBlaster's standard default frame rate is 25 frames a second. That's what we're shooting today for this talk show, is 25 frames a second. But if I'm out in a gym doing a basketball game, or out at a football stadium doing a football game, I really want to bump that up to 30 frames a second, assuming my cameras will handle that. Most of them can. And that'll give me a little bit smoother video for the high motion in a sporting event. So if you're not getting good video into VidBlaster and your camera's set right and it's talking to your capture card nicely, the first thing you want to check is your video resolution in VidBlaster. And then the next thing you want to check is the camera module in VidBlaster. Most of the time I recommend that you leave the camera module resolution set to auto. Leave the frame rate set to auto. And that'll pass through the settings that are set at that master or universal setting for the video. You can also determine that VidBlaster will stream, for example, the output today in the program module is being sent to Flash Media Live Encoder. It's going out at 864 by 480. Flash Media Live Encoder is receiving it at 865 by 480. But sometimes Flash Media Live Encoder drops a bit, or trips over itself or whatever, and gets a different number that it's receiving the video at. It might be 640 by 360, another widescreen standard definition format. And so the video quality is not quite as good. Sometimes it might even go to a different format that's a different aspect ratio, and you get the letterbox form. So that can be an issue. You'll want to check there. And then, of course, in Flash Media Live Encoder, also you've got the output video, which you're selecting. And obviously, if you select an output video that's at a higher resolution than your input, it's going to look a little pixelated and not so hot. So that's a long way of going through the video part. One of the other questions that I've had, and hat tip to Jana Kalla for giving me the idea today, was to put together a little tutorial for desktop management. And let me queue up that VidBlaster guy here. Let's see. I thought I had this already queued, but I didn't. So live video, we're gonna queue this up. Tutorial desktop management. There we go. And let's go through this a little bit. This has got some good stuff here. And if you don't catch it all the first time, I'll upload this separately to YouTube so you can go back and watch it later. But there's some great tips and tricks in here that talk about how to do VidBlaster. Here it is. Hi, I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy. Got another tutorial for you, and this time it's on desktop management. You say, well, desktop management, that's a pretty boring subject, just moving modules around and that kind of thing. But if you're short on screen real estate, or if you want to do more than one thing on the same monitor, desktop management can be pretty important. Hat tip to Jana Kalla for suggesting this topic. So let's look. The profile that we've got here in front of us is the profile that I use on that VidBlaster Guy. It's about 28, 30 modules, something like that, all sorts of player modules and video effect modules. Doesn't really matter. But you can see some of the ones that I've got. Let's zoom in over here. Some of these camera modules that I've got, you can see they're sort of condensed. And these are camera 2 modules, that is camera Roman numeral 2. And the little diamond on the right side allows me to open up that module. And you can see that it's an Osprey 450 video device. And I can use this module as normal. But since I don't have a camera hooked to that module right now, I've got those cameras out on loan, I can reduce that module so that it just takes up a little bit of screen real estate. And I can click and see on all those modules, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4. Those are all Ospreys. And camera 7, which is the module that, the camera that we're using for this video today, right now. Camera 7, it's the Logitech C920 webcam. And you can see they take up just a little bit of screen real estate when they're reduced in size. And you can still move them around. And I like to keep them right here because they're out of the way. You can see right above the video effect module, number 13, is the active module right now. The little red tally light on the left-hand side tells you that it's active. It's the one that's being displayed in the program monitor. And it's a chroma key. It's a combination of a video effect module and a player module. If we right-click the video effect module, we can select automatic settings, and it shows you all the different settings that we can use in setting the chroma key. And most of the time I have to do some setup on this to get it keyed into whatever my color of the day is, or if I change the shirt color, sometimes that doesn't quite work as well with the background. But let's turn that off because we don't need it. And let's go back to full screen. And we can also take a look here at the program module. It's currently set. Let's see what it's set for. It's set for auto, which is 864 by 480. Let me get that out of my face there. There we go. 864 by 480, which is the stream that I record at and I stream at. But let's say I'm running short on screen real estate. I can take this module down really, really tiny, and then I've got room to do all sorts of other things. And I did that by hitting display size, which is a right click in the program module, and then selecting whatever display size I want. We'll set it back to auto. And I moved it down a little bit, so let's move it back up. Let's say that I want to do a Skype interview, or I'm using one monitor and I need this screen real estate. Well, I can reduce VidBlaster to this big and move it out of the way and have all the rest of the screen to do whatever I want to with. And I can still switch from one module to another. And I'll go from, in this case, Video Effect 13 to Video Effect 7. And if I come back full screen, you can see now it's got the soccer game going on right there. Back to this one. And so I've got the ability right here to make VidBlaster sort of small so that I can use that other real estate for a Skype capture, or if I need to monitor my Flash Media Live encoder and I only have one monitor to do it on, I can do all that right there. Let's maximize this guy out again. We can also stack modules. If we've got some modules that are sort of used in conjunction with each other and really don't need to see them on the screen. Let me zoom in right here. And this is the Video Effect Module 9. This is the one. Let me go ahead and make it active, put the tally light on it. And this is what I use in an interview. Now you can see that it doesn't look particularly good. We'll come back out to full screen so you can see. And here on my left would be where my guest would go. It's currently a screen capture, so you can see what's on my other monitor right now. But let's go back in with the zoom. Underneath this module is another module, and I'm going to pull this one out to the side for a second so that you can see. And you can see underneath it is a different module. It's a video effect module. It's used as a PIP, but it's sort of a building block. So I'm not really needing to display that because this module is actually a building block that goes with this module right here. So I'll put this one on top of it because I don't ever really need to see the other one. So I can conceal it. I know it's there, and I can conceal it. And then if I ever need to use it, I can go get it. And that's another way to maximize your desktop real estate. Now let's go back full screen. And let's say that you've got some modules that you want to use part of the screen for VidBlaster and part of the screen for something else. So let's just go over to the right here. Well, let's go back to our mini screen, and we can make it larger just by dragging it out and making it small. But you notice that the modules that don't display, that would normally be, you know, all around me right here, they are not showing. So if I want to hide modules and get them out of the way, I can take them and just tuck them out of the way, and now I've got that screen real estate back if I need it. And I can do that with all sorts of modules all the way around. Let's go back where we were full screen right there. We'll move that guy back where he was. So there are lots of different strategies for maximizing your screen real estate. A lot of the newer modules, the Player 2 module, excuse me, the Camera 2 module, the Player module, I've got those tucked down here in the right-hand corner. Let's take a look at those. Those can be minimized and maximized. So I've got a bunch of them here, and you can see there's just a graphic that I use in the background. There's another graphic. There's another graphic. There's that little soccer game you saw a second ago that I use as a picture-in-picture. Here's a green screen that I use on occasion. Let's see, number 13. Can we get that one to pop? Yeah, there we go. There's another background graphic. And in this case, this is the VidBlaster theme music. There we go, just sitting there as an audio feed. And let's go back up to this top left corner. We'll go back to full screen. So there are lots of different ways to be real conservative with your screen real estate. You can collapse modules. You can hide modules off the side of the screen. Or you can take VidBlaster, the whole software, and just compact it down. Let's see, something else I wanted to try. I didn't try it in warm-up, so bear with me. Let's say we've got a camera module, and we'll pull this one down here right underneath me. And we don't need to do much to it except to click it to cut to it. So I'm going to cut to it by clicking it. Then I'll go back to me. So let's go look and see here. Video standard, video resolution, frame rate, smooth transition, aspect ratio, crop, display size. Ah, here we go. Let's make this module really small, 25%. Well, in this case, it's 25% of 864. But you notice what happened. Let me get this module out in the middle where we can see it more clearly. We'll move that one out of the way over here temporarily. Is that all the control buttons came off of it. So if I had a maximum resolution, let's say of 640 by 480 or 640 by 360, this would actually be much smaller, about, maybe half that size. And that's another way to be conservative with my screen real estate. So let's make this guy display size. See if we put him 100%. Wow, that's the full size of what we're streaming. We don't want that. That's way too big. So we're going to go display size default. That's our regular size. We'll tuck him back over here in the camera stack, and we'll minimize him. And we'll go get our video effect right there and shift him back. So you can see there are lots of different ways to be conservative with your screen real estate. You can take your program module and you can minimize it to a smaller size. You can take the entire desktop and make it small so that you only see what you need if you need the rest of your monitor for a Skype capture or other things. You can take certain modules and collapse them down so that they're just really small. You can stack modules one on top of each other, so that and you can hide them here behind the program screen. So there are lots of different ways to kind of gaining back some screen real estate. But if you've got 2 monitors or 3 monitors, you can get spoiled. One of the improvements coming down the pike for VidBlaster is the ability to actually put the VidBlaster program on more than 1 monitor at a time. Until that happens, you'll just have to use a supersized monitor. I was watching, what was it? A video. No, it was pictures from Sheldon Neal's broadcast of a basketball game. And he had a 30-inch monitor in front of him. And so, of course, he had lots of room on the screen for VidBlaster and anything else he needed. So that's another strategy if you've got a little extra cash kicking around. I'm Tom Sinclair. Stick around for the rest of the show. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy. One of the reasons why I started the show, that VidBlaster guy, is so that I could show off the power and the ease of use of my favorite software, VidBlaster. Every week we do a live show that talks all about VidBlaster, and we have guests on that show how they're using VidBlaster and how they couldn't do what they're doing without VidBlaster. Anyway, you know the routine. The other reason why I started the show is because I'm a VidBlaster reseller. I want people, when they buy VidBlaster, to buy it from me. That way you get personal support from me, Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy. You get my cell phone number. You get my email address. If you're in a jam and you need an answer, you've got somebody to call. Call me, Tom Sinclair. You can get VidBlaster from my website, thatvidblasterguy.com. There's a store there. Just click on the link and you can get VidBlaster, get a license to VidBlaster. If you need to upgrade, let's say you've got the Home Edition, you want to upgrade to the Pro Edition, you get 100% credit for the Home Edition that you already own towards your purchase of the Pro Edition, but it does have to be handled manually. So shoot me an email, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com, and we'll get that in the works for you. If you need great support for great software, call me, Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy. And also, watch us on Tuesdays on That VidBlaster Guy show. How about that for a shameless plug in the middle of a show? I thought I'd slip that one in there and see if anybody noticed. No, in fact, that was one of the reasons for starting this show initially, was to increase my sales of VidBlaster. And it's one of the unintended consequences that I found out that I really enjoyed this show, and that have a great group of guys and gals, for that matter, that will tune in and watch on a regular basis and give me all sorts of great feedback. And so we're kind of got a little community forming here. It's been a lot of fun to be just a part of that. Earlier, before the show started, in pre-show, I was talking with Richard Cleveland. He's building a PC that he's going to use for his for some of the shows that he streams, and we're going to pull Richard in on Skype and see if we can't get an update on how that build is coming. For those of you that are thinking about building a PC, oh, here he is here. Let's see if we can't grab him in. And hold on, Richard. Let me get the screen capture set up right, because I had to adjust it there a moment ago. Oh, I lost it. Appreciate everybody bearing with me on this one. And there we go. That looks good. There he is. All right, Richard, we got you.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Oh, and it's got great audio too. Outstanding. Outstanding. I'm going to pop you into the screen. This says Joe Kelly Jr. This is from last week, but y'all don't pay any attention to that. This is really Richard Cleveland.
Joe Kelly this week.
That's right. That's right. So tell me about the build. What's going on? You're building a PC. You're using that Silverstone case.
I am. I decided to, late last year, I decided I needed to build a specific streaming box. So in order to do that, what I ended up having to do was go to my retailer, and I did some research on it because I use a different streaming program than you do. I decided that I wanted to build something that had room to grow, but was small enough that I could take on location, because as you know, we go out and we do some live events throughout the year. One of them's coming up in April, and we're hoping to, you know, have our booth there this year and stream live from the event. If not, it'll be live to tape. But the box itself was portable enough, and I'd built a system in this style of case before. And when I saw yours under the table all wrapped up in blankets, I thought, you know, I could probably do that a lot quieter. So when we were talking in pre-show, I decided, one of the things that I decided early on was I wanted to go with a very quiet fan. And I've put 3 fans in here. I actually swapped out all of the box fans that came with it, and I put in a much quieter fan, a Noctua fan, which are rated at about 6 to 7 dB for each fan. So right now I'm running at about 21 dB, maybe 28 top load. I think the loudest fan in here is the CPU cooling fan, but it is an i7 3770K 22 nanometer Ivy Bridge processor. I put in 16 gigs of RAM. I didn't bother putting in any of the extra stuff like a CD-ROM or a card reader or anything like that. What I did do instead was I added in an additional video card to offload the video, because the software that I use will allow me to do rendering through the video card as opposed to doing it on the processor. So right now, talking to you, I'm actually using the software to send to you this image, and it's using about 11% CPU.
Good deal. Good deal. So ultimately, you're going to have a, excuse me, a 2 PC setup where one of them's doing the switching and the effects, and then the second one is essentially taking the video and combining the audio with it and streaming and recording?
No, sir. All in one box.
All in one PC?
You bet.
Oh, okay. I got you. So
yeah.
the video card that you're talking about, the second card.
Right.
Now, okay. Now, how's that going to work?
Well, basically what it does is it shuts off the video that's on the motherboard.
Okay.
And transfers all that video processing to the external video or the additional video card that I put in.
Right.
So none of that processing is taking place in the CPU. It's all taking place in the GPU.
Gotcha.
Which allows me to keep the cycles down on the CPU, which allows me to keep the CPU a little cooler.
And then the output of that card becomes the video for the stream.
You bet.
Okay.
Well, it becomes the stream video for the monitors here. Still, the stream goes out over Ethernet through the internet that we have here.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'll go with that. That's cool. And so this is the box that you're on right now?
This is the box I'm on right now, yeah.
Cool. Outstanding.
And you can't hear the fans, can you?
You know, all I hear are my fans. It's just this.
This unit is about 24 inches away from me at the moment. It's sitting right on the desk. And I got to tell you, with the fans that I put in there, man, this thing is so quiet.
Well, pull your mic over there. Let's hear these fans.
All right.
I'm not hearing anything.
You hear me messing around with the mic more than you hear the sound. I had that right over top of one of the exhaust fans. The mic was literally right on top of the machine.
Now spell this fan name again, and David in the chat room wants to know how much they were.
The fans were, sorry, I'm going to go off camera for a second. I'll even give you the model number.
Ah, now we're talking.
I'll make you one better. I'll give you the model number. The fans that I used were Noctua. It's spelled Noctua. They're designed in Austria, so they're a German fan. And you can find them at www.noctua.at. That's Noctua.at. The model number that I'm using is the NF-R8. It's an 80 mil fan. Like I said, this fan is really quiet. It comes with some shock absorbers. that you can put inside the case if you want to use the shock absorbers. I don't like to use those particular ones because the metal inside this case, as you know, is not that thick. So the fans will tend to rattle a little bit. What is it? It says that the minimum or input power is 1.32 watts per fan. And without the adapters, there's a little adapters that come with this thing. It'll be 17 dB. With the adapters, it's 7 dB. And I'm using, of course, the adapters. So it's a 3 to 4 pin adapter, and it's just got a little resistor on it. And basically, it keeps it very quiet, very simple to use. There's not a lot of noise that comes off of it.
So how much do these little gems set you back?
$14 a piece.
Is that Canadian or U.S.?
That's Canadian. So $14 a piece is what they cost me.
So that's like 300 U.S.
Yeah, about 300 U.S. Yeah. Hey, our gas just went up here.
Oh, I don't even want to hear about it. Was it up to about 50 cents a gallon now?
No, actually, well, we pay 99.9 cents per liter, and it's 2.5 liters to a gallon, isn't it?
Okay.
So we're, $2.50.
Okay. Well, we haven't seen $2.50 since before Hurricane Katrina.
There you go. But yeah, I recommend these fans. They have all different sizes, everything from like 80 mil right up to the much larger 120s and 240s. I recommend these fans highly for a small case. There's the box if anybody's interested in it. I got to make sure I'm going to the right camera.
Cool.
It's a very narrow box, so. But other than that, there's 16 gigs of RAM in this little guy, a 1 terabyte hard drive. I put in the AverMedia card, which you and I have talked about off camera a few times. The HD PVR, which is running the camera that I'm on right now, which is an old DV Canon ZR910 or 920, I believe. And then I've got, of course, the Canon Vixia is also hooked into that card, and I can run both cameras at the same time.
That's a Jim Moline trick right there.
There you go.
Yep. Good deal.
So for anybody interested in this, the specs are up on my community on Google Plus, which is Naked Ape Productions community. You can check it out. I also put it on the Wirecast community. I know I'm kind of swearing on your show, and I apologize for that.
That's okay.
And so you can check out all the specs of the current situation that it's at now. We are going to be changing out cards as we go into phase 2 of this. We are going to be going into a SDI card, 4-input SDI card, which will allow us to do ISO recording.
Good deal.
Yeah, so it'll be quite nice. I mean, it's not a replacement for a TriCaster, but coming in right now, the build is sitting at about $1,150 taxes in, and that's all retail costs.
Can't do that with a TriCaster.
No, you sure can't. And once we put in the other card, the SDI card, that's going to run us about $1,500. We're still in under $3,000 with the software.
Right. And you intimately know that PC.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've laid your hands on every part of it.
Absolutely. Yep. I do all my own builds.
Yep. I'm with you on that one. It's a lot more fun. Golly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah. Nothing like putting it together. Have you tried any solid state drives?
I did have one here that when I was doing initial testing on it before I put in the 1 terabyte drive, my solid state drive finally bought the farm. So it's no longer any good. But that being said, I will be putting a solid state drive into this to take care of all of the applications that are on the box. I mean, there's really not much on this box other than the operating system.
Right.
Just to give you an idea, I'm running Wirecast Toolbox, Skype, and Adobe Audition. That's all that's on this machine.
Well, I think of these PCs like, a NASCAR racing car. There's nothing on there that is not needed and used, and if it is, out it goes.
That's right. And part of that is stock cooling. I will be pulling out the stock cooler and putting in a much better cooling system as we move into the second phase of the build. And with the new cooling system, it'll allow me to overclock the CPU to 4.2 gigahertz without too much trouble.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right. Well, I look forward to going back and double checking the specs on your build. And
well, I encourage you all to do so. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop me a line. You can get a hold of me at richard@nakedapeprod.com, or you can leave me a message on Google Plus or on our Facebook page, and wherever you can find me, that's where you can leave a message. And I usually respond to everybody, as you know, Tom.
Right, he does. He's a good guy. Richard, thanks so much for popping in. It's good to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. And listen, I want to give you an open invitation for the last Wednesday of this month for Podcast U Roundtable. I want you to be involved in that one.
I'd love to be there again. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
That was a lot of fun last time. Good. Take care. All right, that was Richard Cleveland of Naked Ape Productions. And yes, he is a Wirecast user, and we're not going to hold that against him because he's a good guy and he's doing some good things. And there needs to be a little bit more cross-pollination, I think, because we can learn a lot from each other. Wirecast and VidBlaster are two very different programs. They approach things very differently. And as a result, people that use them think differently. And it doesn't hurt for us VidBlaster folks to talk with people that think differently than we do, because a lot of times, we can learn some stuff. My apologies to the folks in the guys in the chat room that have been having trouble with chat today. I'm not quite sure what the chat issue was. I know Twitter was having a big problem yesterday. We were having trouble. I think the East Coast was fine and the West Coast was having troubles, and I'm down here in Alabama and I couldn't get on Twitter either. So you just never know about this technology stuff. It could all come crashing and burning down tomorrow. Next week, we're going to have Marcus Mason on the show. Marcus is a preacher and also does video and broadcasting for some of the churches that he works with. And so he's been using VidBlaster and just upgraded his home edition to studio edition. Last week I helped him out with that, and he is thrilled to have all the extra modules and all the other capabilities that the studio version has in it that the home version didn't. And it was an interesting story as I was chatting with him the other day that he started with the home edition and he learned VidBlaster with 7 modules, and he learned how to be very conservative in his use of modules, and he learned how to think through, okay, if this module does this and I combine it with this one, I can get this result. And he began to see, number one, he began to see the need for having a few more modules, but at the same time, he really, since he was restricted to only 7, he got to know the 7 he was using very closely. And so if you're going to start out with VidBlaster, starting out with a home edition is not a bad idea, and then grow as you need to because you get 100% credit for the version that you own. That wasn't intended as an ad, but really as a word of encouragement to those of you folks that are thinking about VidBlaster or have the home edition. Go ahead and start getting into the guts of it and figuring out how it works. It can be a lot of fun, But we're going to have Marcus on the show next week, next Tuesday at 3 Eastern, 8 London time. It has really been a treat to be with you guys today on that VidBlaster Guy. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial and the conversation. And I look forward to seeing you again next week when we talk about church broadcasting. I'm Tom Sinclair. Oh, hold on a second. I got to get the... that's the darn thing about this one man, one PC stuff, is that if I don't have everything queued up just the way I want to, I'm going to be in a pack of trouble, and that's what I almost did that time. So anyway, Anyway, so we'll go out the right way now. I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster Guy. It was a treat to be with you this week. Look forward to seeing you next week.